Solitude is often misunderstood. We're conditioned to believe that being alone is something to avoid, that it's a state of emptiness or even a sign of failure. But what if we turn that thinking on its head? What if solitude wasn't a burden but an opportunity, a gift? Imagine a space where you're free from external pressures, distractions, and the expectations of others. In that space, you can truly listen to yourself, hear your inner voice, and connect with your most authentic self. When you spend time alone, you begin to discover parts of yourself that you may have been too busy or too distracted to notice. It's in these moments of solitude that clarity often arises. You start to see what really matters to you, what brings you joy, what you truly need, and what you can live without. Solitude gives you the chance to think deeply, to reflect on your experiences, and to process your emotions without interruption. The world is noisy. Between the demands of work, family, friends, and social media, our attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. But in solitude, there is quiet. And in that quiet, we find the space to grow. Growth doesn't always happen in the company of others. In fact, some of our most profound growth happens when we're alone. In solitude, we can challenge ourselves, confront our fears, and face our insecurities head on. It's where we learn resilience and self-reliance. Solitude is also a time for creativity. Many of the world's greatest artists, thinkers, and innovators have done their best work in isolation. When you are alone, your mind is free to wander without judgment, to dream without limitation. In solitude, you're not bound by the expectations or opinions of others, and that freedom can spark incredible ideas and insights. Moreover, solitude allows us to recharge. Life can be exhausting, and constantly being around others, even those we love, can sometimes drain us. But solitude provides a space to refuel, to regain energy, and to center ourselves. It's in these moments that we reconnect with our inner peace, a peace that often gets lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Ultimately, when we learn to embrace solitude, we realize that it's not something to be feared or avoided. Instead, it's a powerful opportunity for self-discovery, personal growth, and renewal. In a world where approval seems to come from the outside, we are constantly bombarded with messages that our worth depends on what others think of us. Social media, society, and even our closest circles often tell us that validation comes from likes, compliments, or success in the eyes of others. But if we chase external validation as our primary source of happiness, we are setting ourselves up for a fragile existence. The truth is, relying on others to feel whole is like building a house on shifting sand. It can crumble the moment that approval fades. Inner peace, on the other hand, is built on something far more solid. It comes from within, grounded in self-acceptance and self-understanding. It's the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, regardless of what anyone else might say or think. When you cultivate inner peace, you are no longer at the mercy of others' opinions or approval. Their praise or criticism becomes a whisper rather than a shout, because you know that your true worth doesn't come from them, it comes from you. The path to inner peace begins with self-awareness. It requires looking inward and asking yourself the tough questions: who am I? What do I value? What truly makes me happy? When you take the time to answer these questions for yourself, you create a strong foundation that is not easily shaken by the ups and downs of life. Inner peace means being rooted in your own sense of purpose and identity, so that when the storms of life come, whether in the form of rejection, failure, or criticism, you remain steady. A big part of cultivating inner peace is learning to let go of the need to please everyone. People's expectations of you will always shift and change, but trying to meet them all is a losing battle. There's freedom in understanding that you don't have to be everything to everyone. The more you rely on yourself for fulfillment and approval, the less power you give others to dictate your happiness. It's not about shutting people out or disregarding their opinions altogether. It's about learning to prioritize your own sense of worth and happiness over their expectations. Cultivating inner peace also means being gentle with yourself. We live in a fast-paced, competitive world where it's easy to be hard on ourselves for not measuring up, for making mistakes, or for not achieving enough. But inner peace thrives when you allow yourself to be human, to make errors, to take detours, and to still be worthy of love and happiness despite those imperfections. Instead of seeking approval from others, start seeking approval from yourself. Speak kindly to yourself and learn to be at peace with where you are in life, even if you're not where you thought you would be. Another key to inner peace is learning to live in the present moment. External validation often traps us in the past, rehashing what others have said or done, or in the future, worrying about how we will be perceived. But inner peace is found in the now, in appreciating who you are and what you have in this moment. By practicing mindfulness, gratitude, and self-reflection, you create a sense of contentment that isn't reliant on outside forces. This doesn't mean ignoring your ambitions or relationships, but rather understanding that true happiness and peace are found in your relationship with yourself and in your ability to be present. When you stop looking outward for validation and start focusing inward, you begin to realize that your peace and happiness have always been within your control. We often hear the phrase, "be kind to yourself," but how many of us truly practice it? In a world that constantly pushes us to be better, faster, and stronger, we can easily become our harshest critics. We set impossible standards, compare ourselves to others, and when we fall short, we punish ourselves with harsh words and self-judgment. But self-compassion and self-love are not just luxuries, they are essential for our mental and emotional well-being. Developing self-compassion begins with the simple but powerful act of acknowledging that you are human. To be human means to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to feel pain. Yet, instead of beating ourselves up for these imperfections, self-compassion invites us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a dear friend. When a loved one stumbles, you don't scold them or make them feel small. You comfort them, reassure them, and remind them of their worth. Why is it so hard to extend that same kindness to ourselves? Part of cultivating self-compassion is recognizing that everyone is going through their own struggles. When you're hard on yourself, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that you're the only one who feels inadequate or lost. But the truth is, we all face challenges. We all have moments of doubt, fear, and failure. Self-compassion is about recognizing that suffering is part of the shared human experience and that you're not alone in it. Instead of isolating yourself with harsh self-criticism, you can open your heart to the fact that being imperfect doesn't make you less worthy of love and care. Another important element of self-compassion is learning to forgive yourself. We all make mistakes, but instead of carrying the weight of regret and guilt, self-compassion encourages us to let go and move forward. This doesn't mean ignoring or excusing harmful behaviors. It means learning from them without letting them define you. Mistakes are not a reflection of your value as a person, they are opportunities for growth. Forgiving yourself is an act of love, a way of saying, "I am enough even when I fall short." Developing self-love goes hand in hand with self-compassion. Where compassion is about kindness in the face of difficulty, self-love is about nurturing a deep and unwavering belief in your own worth. It's about seeing yourself as deserving of love, respect, and care, simply because you exist, not because of your achievements or your ability to meet certain expectations. Self-love isn't selfish or indulgent, it's the foundation for a healthy and fulfilled life. When you love yourself, you create boundaries that protect your energy and well-being. You prioritize your own needs, knowing that you can't pour from an empty cup. Self-love is also about embracing your unique qualities, quirks, and even your flaws. It's about accepting all parts of yourself, the parts you're proud of and the parts you're still working on. We often think of love as something that comes from others, but the most profound love you can experience is the love you give yourself. It's an ongoing practice of looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough, exactly as I am today. Another key aspect of self-love is taking responsibility for your own happiness. So often we look to others to fill us up or validate our worth. But self-love teaches us that our happiness is an inside job. It's about creating a life that reflects your values, pursuing your passions, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you. Self-love is about choosing yourself even when it's hard, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of all the good things in life and that you deserve to live in a way that honors who you are. Ultimately, developing self-compassion and self-love is an ongoing journey. It requires practice, patience, and a willingness to unlearn the negative messages we've internalized about ourselves over time. But as you commit to this journey, you will discover that the more love and compassion you give yourself, the more you have to give to others. One of the most powerful and liberating realizations in life is that your purpose and passion are uniquely yours to discover. We live in a world that constantly tries to define success for us, whether through societal expectations, family pressures, or the images of success we see in the media. But true fulfillment doesn't come from following someone else's path. It comes from finding your own, from tuning out the noise and connecting with what genuinely lights you up inside. Finding your purpose and passion is an act of self-discovery, and it's essential for living a life of meaning. Your purpose isn't necessarily something that is handed to you or obvious from the start. It's something you uncover through experience, reflection, and often trial and error. Many people believe that they should know their purpose from an early age or that it will arrive in some grand, life-changing moment. But for most of us, finding our purpose is a journey. It evolves as we grow, change, and learn more about ourselves and the world around us. It's not something that's fixed or static, but something that can shift as your life takes new directions. To find your purpose, you need to be willing to explore. This means trying different things, pursuing different interests, and being open to new experiences. Purpose often reveals itself in the activities that make you feel most alive, those moments when you lose track of time, when you feel a deep sense of connection, and when what you're doing feels like more than just a task, it feels meaningful. It's in these moments that you catch glimpses of your purpose, the things that resonate with your core values and desires. Passion is closely tied to purpose, but it's not always the same thing. Passion is the fire that drives you, the excitement and energy that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. Passion can be about the things you love doing, whether it's a creative pursuit, a cause you believe in, or a career that aligns with your strengths and interests. Your passion might be something you've known all your life, or it might be something you discover along the way. The key is to pay attention to the things that spark that deep enthusiasm in you. One of the challenges in finding your purpose and passion is that society often tells us to prioritize practicality and stability over passion. We're told to pursue jobs that are safe or to follow paths that are considered respectable by others. But if you spend your life doing something that doesn't ignite your passion, you can feel empty and unfulfilled, no matter how successful or secure you may seem on the outside. True success isn't just about external achievements, it's about living a life that feels aligned with who you are at your core. Finding your purpose also involves tapping into your unique gifts and talents. Each of us has something special to offer the world, whether it's creativity, empathy, leadership, or problem solving. Part of discovering your purpose is recognizing what you're naturally good at, what others may turn to you for, and how you can use those strengths to make a difference. Purpose is often about serving something greater than yourself, using your talents and passions to contribute to the world in a way that feels meaningful to you. It's important to recognize that purpose isn't always tied to a career or job title. Many people find their purpose in their personal lives, in their relationships, or in the ways they give back to their communities. Your purpose may be about raising a family, helping others heal, or advocating for a cause that matters to you. It could be about creating. Loneliness is one of the most profound emotions we can experience, and at times it can feel overwhelming. It's that sinking feeling of isolation, of being disconnected from the people around you, or from the sense of belonging we all crave. But while loneliness can feel all-encompassing, it's crucial to recognize that it is just an emotion, a fleeting, temporary state that doesn't define who you are or your future. It may linger longer than you'd like, but it is not permanent, and it certainly is not a life sentence. One of the reasons loneliness can feel so daunting is because it tends to magnify our insecurities. When we feel isolated, it's easy to start believing that something is wrong with us, that we're unworthy of love or connection. However, feeling lonely does not reflect your worth. It's a natural human experience that everyone goes through at different points in life, whether they are surrounded by people or physically alone. The key is understanding that, like all emotions, loneliness will pass. It may ebb and flow, but it doesn't last forever. Loneliness often strikes when we're in periods of transition or change. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, or ending a significant relationship can leave us feeling adrift. In these moments, it's tempting to view loneliness as a permanent state, but it's important to remember that these transitions are temporary and part of the natural ebb and flow of life. Just because you're feeling lonely now doesn't mean that you always will. With time, new connections will form and the sense of isolation will fade. It's also worth noting that loneliness can sometimes be a signal, a wake-up call, urging you to reconnect, not just with others, but also with yourself. In today's world, it's easy to distract ourselves from our emotions with work, entertainment, or endless scrolling through social media. But loneliness often invites us to pause and reflect. It's an opportunity to check in with yourself and ask, what do I need right now? What's missing in my life? Instead of seeing loneliness as a curse, try viewing it as a moment for introspection and self-awareness. Learning to sit with loneliness without trying to immediately fix or escape it is a powerful skill. When we can accept loneliness as part of the human experience, it loses some of its power over us. Rather than seeing it as something to be feared or avoided at all costs, we can recognize that it's just another emotion like sadness, joy, or anger that comes and goes. In fact, periods of loneliness often give rise to some of the most meaningful growth and self-discovery. When we're alone, we're forced to confront our inner selves, and it's in those moments of solitude that we often gain clarity about who we are and what we want from life. Loneliness can also teach us the value of human connection. When we feel isolated, we come to understand just how much relationships and community matter to us. These moments of loneliness can serve as reminders to nurture our existing connections or to seek out new ones. The key is not to let loneliness make you withdraw further. Instead, it's an invitation to reach out, to create opportunities for connection, and to be open to the new relationships that will inevitably come your way. Finally, loneliness doesn't have to be synonymous with being physically alone. There's a distinction between solitude and loneliness. Solitude can be a positive, even transformative experience, a time to recharge, reflect, and grow. It's entirely possible to be alone without feeling lonely. When you learn to be comfortable in your own company, loneliness becomes less about being physically isolated and more about how you perceive your connection to the world around you. By fostering a sense of inner contentment and peace, you can reduce the sting of loneliness, knowing that it's just a passing emotion, not a permanent state of being.